Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to have a look at a Scottish gypsy brewery, and I believe I've reviewed one of their beers before. So for this one we're going to taste another beer from Dead End Brew Machine, who are originally based in the kind of Glasgow area, but they're now brewing their things up in Dundee, and this particular beer is the Night Land. So this one is an Imperial Stout coming in at 11.5% ABV. They're describing it as a smoked Imperial Stout with maple syrup, so I think this one will be a bit of a monster. Now this is a brewery that's kind of popped up in the last couple of years since I left Scotland back in 2015, but I've heard some very good things about this brewery. This is the first beer that I'm trying from them that was from the darker end of the spectrum, and as I always say, you really want to try something from the lighter end of the spectrum and the darker end of the spectrum to see kind of what a brewery is all about. But very much looking forward to trying this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. Cool to review another kind of up and coming Scottish brewery, if you like. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Dead End Brew Machine before. I'm sure I'll review more from these guys at some point in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Dead End Brew Machine then, on to my brewery notes. So Dead End Brew Machine were founded in Glasgow by Irishman Chris Lewis, who is a very highly regarded home brewer in the city, and he and friend Jake Griffith, who now runs Up Front Brewing, who you've seen me review before as well, had won the Institute of Distilling's home brewing competition back in 2012, and this really inspired them both to go for it and set up their own companies. So Chris had started winemaking back in 2008, but he said that his wine was pretty awful, but he later learned that it was much quicker and a little bit easier actually to make beer, and he went to his local home brewing shop, which it turned out was run by Scott Williams of Williams Brothers. And he was later convinced to launch the beer commercially by Derek Hoy of the now defunct Hippo Beer Group in Glasgow as well. They had a very good beer shop actually. It was quite sad when they went out of business. But at the moment these guys are operating as a gypsy brewer, client brewery, however you want to describe them, and most of their beers were originally brewed at Fallon Brewery, which is in Kippen just outside of Stirling, or Drygate, which is the kind of craft branch of Tennant's, but also a joint venture with Williams Brothers in Glasgow as well. But more recently they've been brewing their beers at 71 Brewing up in Dundee as well, which is another very good craft brewery that you should check out too. So this is kind of an interesting one. It's almost like the Scottish equivalent of Mikkeller a little bit, and as I say, the beers have been very highly regarded. So yeah, it's cool to see an Irishman coming over to Scotland too and brewing beers. Some of the Irish craft beers are very good these days as well too. But a very highly regarded Scottish brewery, this one, doing a lot of interesting things by all accounts. So it's just cool for me to be able to review one of their beers for you when I'm back home here for a little bit. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Dead End Brew Machine for the moment. If you want to learn a little bit more, of course, you can check out the brewery website, or you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and things like that. That'll keep you up to date with all the latest goings on at the brewery, and you can have a little look at their Untappd and rate beer pages as well, and that will give you the list of all of the different beers that they've done. I think they are quite a prolific brewery, this one, to be honest with you, even more so since they've moved into 71 Brewing. And I think the first beer that I actually reviewed from these guys was a collaboration with 71 Brewing and Up Front Brewing, so pretty cool actually. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself then. So as you can see, the artwork on this one is really quite nice actually. I have to commend them on that. It's very kind of Scandinavian and minimalist, but it's also a little bit like some of these kind of newspaper things on the back. That's pretty cool. But yeah, I like this, and there you can see in the little corner there under the barcode, that is Dead End Brew Machine's symbol there. So yeah, pretty cool. But like I said, This one is an 11.5% Imperial Stout. Apparently it uses 10 different malt varieties, and the maple syrup that they use in this comes from Nova Scotia, and the two hop varieties are Challenger and Bramling's Cross. So yeah, let's just have a go at this guy and see how it got on. Beautifully presented. 440ml can, this one. I always complain about these because it's not half a litre, which kind of would make sense, but these tall boys of course are becoming very, very popular. But without further ado, let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting then. I'm just really curious to see how this particular beer holds up. I mean, at 11.5%, this beer will be a little bit of a monster. So yeah, this one might well be the strongest Imperial Stout that I've had from Scotland other than the Brewdog Tokyo. So that would be an interesting thing, wouldn't it? But yeah, as you can see, and as you would expect from this beer then, this one's poured a lovely sort of dark ebony rosewood colour. If I shine the light through it, it does have a little bit of a kind of Coca-Cola coloured edge, a little bit ruby as well, to be honest with you, but a very, very dark and big syrupy beer, as you would expect, to be honest. When you move this beer around, you can smell some of the really treacly molasses, kind of caramelised sugars in this one, but one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, quite a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of the head. The head, incidentally, has just faded away to be a very, very thin foamy layer, and in terms of colour, I would say this, you know, I think it was a sort of medium beige colour. You can see just around the edge of it there, you can see the colour of this, so a sort of medium tan kind of beige colour on this one. But you know, nothing surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance when you consider that it is an Imperial Stout. I've probably poured the glass a little bit high with this one, to be honest with you, but I'll go and share it with my dad afterward and get him a little bit drunk. But yeah, it looks very, very nice. Nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. When I hold it up and let the light come through it, it would be quite hazy if you could actually see it. There's not a lot of light passing through this one. But yeah, let's have a little look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this beer. Really curious about this one. Oh, that smells beautiful actually. It's really, really well balanced, that beer, in terms of its aroma. This is why I always say that half of the experience with craft beers is you know, just enjoying the aroma before you taste the beer. Straight away with this one, you're going to get these lovely Bamberg Rauch malts coming out of this one. My whole love of craft beer, as I've told you before, started with the things like Schlenkerla, Spezial, the Bamberg Rauch beers. And these Weyermann smoked malts that you get are, you know, really, really distinctive. They're very meaty. It's almost just like a kind of smoked ham, a smoked kind of gammon steak or something like that. And you pick that up in this beer right away. And it's the beechwood that they burn to smoke these that really gives you that aroma. If you get the oaky ones, the Eiche Rauch malts, they're a little bit more along the lines of, they've got a little bit of an oaky quality in there as well, but you can really pick out a nice woody note to this one. It has, you know, this beer almost has a little bit of that oaky kind of vanilla quality to it as well, which is what reminded me of the Eiche Rauch malts as well. But yeah, it's got that lovely Rauch beer base to it actually. It really comes across beautifully, this beer. This, I think, is going to be a little bit of a kind of nostalgia trip for me, this one. But lovely kind of Rauch malty, German smoked meaty malt base to it. You get a good bit of a woody quality out there. It really does smell a little bit kind of oaky and vanilla. It does have a really nice vanilla element to it as well, to be honest with you. The brown sugars come out really nicely in this as well. You do have that kind of treacly molasses, that kind of darker, more caramelised and thick brown sugary quality in there, but it really leans towards the sweeter end of the spectrum, and that'll be that Nova Scotia maple syrup that's coming out of this beer. It really has just a beautiful blend of aromas coming out of it, this beer. Like I said, a little bit of vanilla. It's almost a little bit leathery and tobacco-y as well, to be honest. But the way that malt base just goes together is absolutely beautiful. There might be a little bit of a kind of a chocolatey note in there, but it's, to be honest, the chocolate is kind of masked a lot by both the smoky malts and the brown sugars. Those are the two things that really dominate the aroma here, is the Rauch malt and the brown sugars. And I mean, when it's a smoked maple syrup beer, this one, that's kind of what you would expect, to be quite honest. That's not surprising at all. In terms of hoppiness, to be honest with you, it's quite surprising, because it really comes across as being almost noble-like in its hop qualities. It almost smells as if it's hop with German ones, but the Challenger and the Bramling's Cross is an English hop, but I think Challenger can be grown in a variety of different places. I don't know if there's a German Challenger, but I think primarily Challenger was an American hop. But it really has that kind of almost noble quality to it, a little bit of a kind of sweet earthiness, but it smells as if it's mixing in with the Rauch malts and also the brown sugar, so maybe that's giving the impression of being a lighter earthiness than it actually is. There's a bit of a kind of, there's a little touch of a noble floral quality in there as well, but you do definitely pick up a bit of a lighter kind of grassy quality to the aroma of this beer as well. But the more you smell of it, the more you're just like, damn, this is really good. In terms of the fruity side of the beer then, the fruitiness, to be honest, isn't actually too prominent. All I'm getting from it really is a little bit of a kind of candied, it's almost like it's got a little bit of a kind of candied strawberry or a little bit of a figgy note to it, to be honest. The fruits to me really take a back seat in this one because the malt pungency is that strong. Yeah, I could sit and smell this beer for absolutely ages. It's just beautiful. But yeah, really not too much in the way of a fruity presence for me with this beer. It has a little bit of a figgy note, like I said, and also a little bit of that kind of candied strawberry thing there. There really isn't too much in the way of fruitiness for me in this beer. But overall, a beautiful smelling beer. With this one in particular, take a bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of it because it's lovely. But let's have a taste of this one now and see how we get in. So this one is the Nightland, an 11.5% smoked maple syrup Imperial Stout from Dead End Brew Machine, a gypsy brewery originally based in Glasgow but now based up at 71 Brewing in Dundee. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Right, that's a beautiful, beautiful beer. Let's just say this kind of straight out there. This is one of the best Imperial Stouts that you're going to find in Scotland. One of the best high alcohol beers that you're going to find in Scotland as well. I mean, for a long time I've raved about the Old Parochial from Tempest Brewing down in Galashiels. That's probably been my favourite high alcohol beer in Scotland up until about this point, and this one really runs that very, very close. It would be very difficult to choose between the two, and in some ways not fair because they're different styles, but this is a ridiculously good Imperial Stout. Massive thumbs up to Dead End Brew Machine for this one. Now that I'm tasting it, when I know how good it is, it almost feels a bit like a shame that I didn't save this for you know, a special review, but I wanted to do a review from Dead End Brew Machine again because it's been a long time. So in some ways I regret opening it now, but in other ways I don't regret opening it. But massive thumbs up to Dead End Brew Machine. This is one of the best. You know, this is arguably the best Imperial Stout you're going to find in Scotland. That's really, really good. And I mean, over in Sweden, we are spoiled with the Omnipollo Imperial Stouts, and Dugas Brewery again are a very good Imperial Stout brewer. And just over the water from me in Copenhagen, you know, you've got Amar, you've got Toil, you've got Mikkeller as well, who are very, very good. This Imperial Stout that they're doing is, that the Dead End have done, is up there with the best Danish Imperial Stouts that I've had. And in my opinion, the Danes and the Swedes are very, very good at this style. So this is an awesome beer. If you get the chance to try this, I think this one cost like £6 or something. It was a little bit hefty in its price, but to be quite frank, it is absolutely worth it. This is a treat beer, so get it and just taste it. Share it with a friend because it's a lovely, lovely brew, this one. Right, take a few sips of it before you analyse it too much because there's a hell of a lot going on in here. So yeah, let's try and break this down a little bit then. So what you'll feel with this one is that in the middle of your palate, you can feel that Rauch malt quality just blanket in the middle of your tongue. And this beer gradually does dry out the further you go into the aftertaste. And you can really feel those nice meaty kind of smoky qualities just pushing their way out of the flavour the further you go into the aftertaste. They're obvious in the beginning as well, but really they come out more in the aftertaste, and that's when you really start to appreciate the complexity of this beer. That the Rauch malts are the backbone of this beer, and you know, as I've always compared the Rauch malts as well, the German Rauch malts to the Scottish peated malts. Though the peaty ones are a little bit more grassy and things like that in terms of their smokiness, but the German smokiness is distinctively more meaty, and it really works very, very well with this beer. I suspect that just with the kind of, it almost has a little bit of a charred quality to it, so I do suspect there's a little bit of black malt kind of mixing in with the Rauch malt there. I wouldn't be surprised about that at all, especially when they're saying there's 10 different malt varieties in here. But on top of that, it smooths out really quite nicely as well. Yeah, it's really beautiful, that. I mean, it's difficult to really know where to start with this one because there's so much going on in it, but you've got that nice rauchy black malt base to it. It dries out the further you go into the aftertaste. On top of that, you get this really kind of silky, kind of medium cocoa chocolate there, and I'd say we're talking about a 50% cocoa note. It does have a little bit of a kind of milky quality to it. When you go further forward on the palate with this beer, that's when you start to get some of the more woody elements coming out of it. I wouldn't say that in the flavour it's more oaky, and the aroma it really comes across as being a little bit more oaky than beechwoody, but the woody flavours you get out of this one are distinctively more like the beechwood you would expect from the Rauch malts, and you can really feel the further you go into the aftertaste some nice vanilla notes just pushing their way out of there. So that's a little bit of an unusual thing, because normally the vanilla notes would come from the use of the Eiche, the oak malts, rather than the oak smoked malts rather than the beechwood smoked malts, but it's a little interesting thing. And if you go to the very centre of your palate and then move forward from there, you do get a little bit of a kind of nutty quality coming out of this beer too. I hesitate to say exactly what type of nuts it is, because I'm not a great fan of nuts. I like the flavours, but I've just never liked the texture of nuts. It's strange. Take that as you will. But yeah, the nutty flavours that come out of this add a really nice kind of complexity to the beer as well. But yeah, in the centre of your palate, you'll notice that kind of chocolatey note. But in the very, very centre of your tongue, that's where the brown sugary notes start to come out of this beer. And it's almost like it has a good few layers to it. And for me, the base layer is a sort of very dark treacle molasses note, but it's not well fired or anything like that. It still retains that kind of sweetness. But then on top of it, you've got that really oily, treacly molasses sort of thing. On top of that, you get a little bit of a kind of sweeter caramel note, and then at the very top, that's where you start to get the kind of maple syrupy quality out of it, the really, really sweet brown sugars. I've always found that, to me, maple syrup, it's like when you put caramel sauce just on like a wafer biscuit and then bite into it. The maple syrup has always reminded me of that in terms of its flavour. So that's kind of how everything is going together in the malt base there. And then as you go further into the aftertaste, you can feel some of the more brown sugary, the sort of treacle molasses layer pushing its way out. Some of the black malts and the rauchy malts are pushing their way out as well, and the woody qualities are just lingering as well with the malt base. So there's a hell of a lot kind of going on in this one, and it's really interesting just how all of it goes together. I don't know, there might be I don't know if there's a little touch of like carafa malt or something in here as well. There's just some of the way that the kind of the toasty elements of this beer are coming out. It really makes me think there might be a little touch of carafa malt in here, because it almost has, it's like a roasty malt, but it has the same consistency and smoothness of coffee. And the carafa, it doesn't give you the flavour of coffee, but it gives you it gives you roasty elements that are the same kind of consistency, if you like. And I'm really getting a little bit of that out of this beer, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of carafa malt in here as well. That's a lovely creation by the Weiermann as well. I think there might be, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a good few caramels and different types of caramel malts and carafa in here too. But the malt base in this beer is just absolutely stunning. I take my hat off to Dead End Brew Machine for this. But let's focus on the hoppy side of the beer then. So back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of a of earthiness in there. It's not the darkest of earthiness that you're going to come across. Like, it's nothing like ashy or anything like that, like Fugal, but it does have a nice bit of earthy bite to it, and that kind of builds a good bridge between those kind of carafa black malty qualities that this beer has. But as you come further forward along the sides of your tongue, that smooths out a little bit. You can detect a little bit of a floral quality on the pardon me, on the front kind of corners of your palate. Then round the very front curve of the tongue, it's just a little bit lighter and more grassy and things as well. I don't know what's going on with my voice now, but yeah, it's the way that the hops come out really complement the beer very, very well. It's not too aggressive in its hoppy qualities, which sometimes Imperial Stouts can be if you've not sat them and aged them for long enough. But yeah, this is really, really very nice, this beer. On the fruity side of things then, as I always say, you get these nice, you get the fruity esters out of this beer, out of the beers, in that little oily bubble that comes out behind the front curve of your palate. And for me, there's a hell of a lot going on with the fruits as well. When there's 10 malts involved, that's not surprising. You will get different qualities from different hops depending on what malt you actually mix them with. So yeah, for me, this beer, it doesn't really have so much of a... It has a little teeny bit of a sharpness in the beginning, but it's not tart at all. It's just sharp and juicy. So it's almost like you've got a nice kind of plummy note to the beer in the beginning, but then as you advance kind of further into the aftertaste, it starts to evolve to be a little bit more kind of black curranty and figgy and things. You'd be forgiven as well for thinking there's almost a kind of cakey element to this beer at the front of your palate too, almost a little bit like Christmas pudding or something like that, but definitely a little bit of a plummy, raisiny sharpness in the beginning, but then it just evolves to be more juicy. It's almost like it's not quite red berries, I'd say more blackberries, black currants, maybe even a little bit of blueberry or something in this beer the further that you go into it. If I was, blind tasting it and didn't know the hops, I would think perhaps there's maybe a little bit of Williamette in here to give you those kind of berryish notes, because those are really quite prominent in this beer on the fruity side of things, and those just sit there almost on the tip of your tongue the further that you go into the aftertaste. But the Bramling's Cross, of course, it's a very popular hop amongst brewers to use in big Imperial Stouts like this, and it works very, very well, and the way the fruits come out really complement the rest of the beer as well. But yeah, in terms of flavour, this one's just absolutely beautiful, and for me this is up there with some of the big Imperial Stouts that you'll find from the likes of Omnipollo and other breweries like this. It's beautifully done, so massive thumbs up to Dead End Brew Machine for the way they've done this beer. This might well be the highlight of the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you on this trip home. Massive, take my hat off to these guys. So yeah, let's focus on the mouthfeel a little bit then. So in terms of the mouthfeel, this is definitely a full-bodied beer, there's no question about that. Carbonation is very smooth in it again, and the mouthfeel overall is just big and oily and syrupy. And the aftertaste, it does dry out a little bit. The things that are lingering there in the aftertaste, as I say, a bit of the juiciness from the fruits, but the woody, rauchy malts are lingering there too, and a lot of the sweetness also comes out, a bit of the earthiness from the hops. But overall, I would say that this beer leans towards the sweeter end of the spectrum when it comes to Imperial Stouts. It does have a bit of a roasty backbone, but the roastiness is very smooth and almost sweet because of the presence of the rauch malts. So definitely at the sweeter end of the spectrum when it comes to the Imperial Stout style. But it's the malt base in this one really is very nice. It dries out a little bit, but generally quite sweet. In terms of hoppy bitterness, what would this beer be? I think you've maybe got about 40 IBUs in this beer, and it's, as I say, it's a sweet Imperial Stout rather than being roasty and toasty or anything like that. It's a very, very sweet Imperial Stout, but it does have a little bit of dryness to it from the hops, and also some of the roasting malts, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's about 40 IBUs. Maybe that's a bit of an overestimation, it could be down at 30, but a lovely oily, juicy, fruity quality to this one, a lovely big oily sweetness in the middle of your palate too. And it definitely dries out a little bit the further you go into the aftertaste as well. But a really, really nice beer, this one. As I say, could well be the best Imperial Stout that I've had from Scotland so far. Granted, I've never tried a Paradox from Brewdog. I've got a few of those that have been aging for a while, so that might be a premature thing to say, but I suspect that this one will definitely hold its own. I mean, if you compare this to the Omnipoils and stuff, and the Amars and the Toyos and Makillers and things, and the Dugas breweries, this is a beautiful, beautiful beer, and I think you'll struggle to find a high alcohol beer in Scotland that is nicer than this one. They'll play around with this one a little bit because they've obviously got a very good base for Imperial Stouts, but basic message to take away is that this is awesome and you really need to try it for yourself. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Just a beautiful beer that you really need to have a go at for yourself. So this one was the Nightland, an 11.5% smoked maple Imperial Stout from Dead End Brew Machine, a gypsy brewery who are brewing their beers up in Dundee at the moment, originally from Glasgow, and they've done an awesome job with this one. So check out some of their beers if you get the chance, and I would really recommend this. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Dead End Brew Machine as well. I'll definitely be making sure I review a beer from these guys the next time I'm home too, but it's been awesome to review this one for you. Definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of a big, sweet, boozy Imperial Stout. This one will definitely not disappoint you. Thank you again for watching. Make sure you check out my social media, and I will catch you guys very soon. Until the next time, slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Make sure you check out Dead End Brew Machine.